In the picture of reaching the objectives and goals concerning physical health and thriving, an anti-parasitic endeavor lies as a fundamental condition. Our body is always in the cycle of metabolism. There is time to satiate and nurture, and there is time to detox and cleanse, assimilate nutrients, and eliminate wastes. It is natural law and fundamental principle of life. These cycles are repetitive and stretched in time. They happen on daily basis, they happen on monthly basis, yearly basis, they happen on lifetime basis. The decline of physical health happens because this fundamental law is violated. The time factor works against those who violate this law. Then biological age disaligns with chronological age. The purpose of assimilation part of metabolism is to nurture and restore the tissues of the body. When tissues are saturated and nutrients are processed, there comes time to put out the metabolic waste products. The deeper the tissue, the slower the metabolites are eliminated. Other than metabolic wastes, the tissue needs to get rid of their own dead cells, the dead bodies of bacteria, viruses, fungi, and parasites. Under the condition the body engages in physical activities, such as sports, the elimination part of metabolism is expedited, but still can retain some residue in its deeper layers and tissues of internal organs. Therefore, a special time period is required to support the elimination process and fully clear out the deep tissue, as they like to say now, at the cellular level. If such period of time is not provided to the body, it is inclined to retain the residue of metabolic wastes, and when these toxic wastes accumulate within cavities, organ, parenchyma, or solid tissue structures, that's when disease begins, slowly developing from generalized lack of energy to more serious chronic conditions. This residue is a good substrate for opportunistic infections, which also ranges from simple acute cold and flu to more serious chronic infections that slowly turn into the autoimmune conditions and cancer. This is how the physical body suffers, becomes sick, develops disease, accrues acidity, expedites its own biological clock, and wears out before its time. In well-developed countries such as the United States, in our day and age, it is specifically the elimination part of metabolism that is overlooked and unsupported. People have access to almost unlimited food supply and in different assortments all year round. Poorly recognized and unsupported elimination process is promoting factor for most of disease in such countries. And of course, on the other hand, in underdeveloped countries, where the access to the food supply is limited, it is the other way around, which of course is also unhealthy. What that means is that any dietary concept that promotes elimination would be considered a healthy type of diet in these circumstances. And that's what we're observing. The healthy food idea now represents a reducing type of nutrition, from low-carb diets to keto diets to high and only protein diets, intermittent and other type of fasting. This is in fact a gradation under which the body would be reducing adipose tissue primarily and to some degree restoring and rejuvenating its tissues. Let's scratch the surface a little bit here, because carbs are considered energy and if not used immediately would be accumulating as reserves compressed in the form of bad fats. Good fats and proteins, building block providing a restorative environment for the tissues, while the body would be utilizing and reducing those fat reserves under the condition the carbs are not eaten. But this is not totally healthy and could be deceitful, and here could happen a very tricky situation. After some time of such restorative regimen, the surplus of proteins, especially if these proteins are not supplied in the form of micronutrients like amino acids, particularly essential amino acids, but in a form of high molecular complex proteins, especially of animal origin, the internal decay will begin to develop. This toxic substance is one of the worst and most difficult to deal with and eliminate. The surplus of carbs in the system is very obvious, quickly notable, and inconvenient to the eye and self-esteem, because it is fat and adipose tissue that makes the body look out of shape and cumbersome. And of course, it retains a lot of toxic substances. And in the principle of detox, needs to go first. But this lies on the surface, and it's not too difficult to deal with in comparison to the type of toxic metabolites of proteins, which is represented by deep tissue decay, and it doesn't make you look fat or out of shape. It may not necessarily take your energy levels away, at least in the early stages. It is brewing backstage, while one admires the shape of their biceps. It comes as accumulations and encapsulations, cysts and pockets of decomposing proteins fragments, and pus deep inside the internal organs and tissues. One doesn't have to be overweight and have the external tissue hanging over the body in order all of a sudden one day be given news of having cancer condition. Exactly that decaying tissue is at the base of those conditions and provides the substrate for viruses and fungi, being the reason for internal inflammation and autoimmune conditions, slowly but surely mutating into oncological tumors. This is the type of toxic metabolic waste that's the hardest one to get rid of and clear out of the system. So the notion of high protein diets is misunderstood and truly to say perverted, especially if they're based on animal proteins. The only correct proteins for humans are plant-based oligopeptides that contain full spectrum of essential amino acids. The only correct carbohydrate for us are fruit and pretty much nothing else. Grains and legumes are not a good source of carbohydrates. They're best when they're sprouted, but when they're sprouted, they can be considered vegetables with a higher content of oligopeptides, basic simple proteins, and small amount of simple carbs, active vitamins, enzymes, and cofactors in the raw, living form, and in the living form only. Everything that is not in the living form is not life-bearing nutrients. However, our body has the ability to optimally deal with that too. So parasites would find a way to get inside our body under the condition of the digestion being weak and internal pollution being high. They would bring pathogenic bacteria, fungi, and viruses along to eat the decay inside the body. They don't really mean any harm. They only fulfill their function. They are the means of nature to teach you how to keep your body pure and healthy, in case you don't know how to do that yourself. It's kind of in the same line when a person gets sick with a seasonal flu, which means they have not taken care of their toxic waste inside their body in the right time. And now nature itself puts them down to bed, takes their appetite away, takes their energy away, and makes them shed off toxins, burn them with fever, spit them out with cough for a week or two. And here nature doesn't care how much stuff you have to do and things you have to take care of. It doesn't care whether you're in the middle of a big project. You just must go through this forced cleansing and detox period. Parasite cleanse concern physical health as well as the right type of detox and cleanse, alternating with the right type of satiating and restoring. Both parts of metabolic homeostasis need to be carried out and fulfilled timely and properly, daily, monthly, seasonally, and yearly. And it is ongoing. It never ends until we pass into the afterlife. It is like brushing your teeth every morning until you lose them, and then you have to brush your dentures. And anti-parasitic cleanse is good to do annually. A good time is by the end of summer, before cold season. And then do the general detox and cleansing program in spring, by the end of March, around Easter time. The raw food time, rich with superfoods and complete micronutrients, synergized by a lot of sunshine, is good during summer. And heavier satiating nutrition with warming spices is good during cold season and until spring equinox, around March 21st. Additionally, for the health of our physical body, remember to expose it to at least moderate intensity dynamics, strenuous exercises, and stretches. These are the basics to keep your body in shape and have it serve you as long as it possibly has the potential to do so. We discussed the details of the gross body physiology and ways to maintain it in our 3 weeks detox program. Please consider participating. It is a guaranteed success that will boost your health and understanding of physiology from unconventional standpoint, because Ayurveda is the science of metaphysical health, the basic principle of natural medicine. The next level of health is mental, psychological, and psychosomatic well-being. This is where we study the physiology of the subtle body, learn its hygiene, methods of purifying, modifying, and optimizing its systems and their energies. It is a separate and vast department of Ayurvedic knowledge, a very important subject of study, research, and exploration. In fact, it is a more important realm of our existence, the world we all live in and have our subtle origin.